This is Pat Redbone Vegas, and I watch Shadow Ridge School's YouTube channel.
Hi, this is Acela Cortese, the voice of Redbone, and I watch Shadow Ridge School's YouTube channel.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
All right, this is the Vince Vivian Experience. I'm Vince Vivian, and I'm here with...
Hello, I'm William Cruz.
I'm Gianmarco Mendez.
I'm Chelsie Paez.
And I'm Mike Tepner, Director of Information Technology at Hesperia Unified.
All right.
If you could just tell us about yourself, like just a quick explainer of what you do.
So I'm Director of IT at Hesperia Unified, so I've been working in IT for over 2 decades now. I started off in college working in the computer lab doing like basic student support. Originally I was going to study engineering, but I wasn't enjoying my engineering classes as much as I thought I would, and then kind of had the epiphany, everybody uses computers now. Whether it's fast food or Fortune 500, everything uses computer, and it's kind of industry proof. So worked with my advisor, and another student had a similar idea to me, so they actually built a whole new program just for the two of us. We were the first 2 graduates. So it was a 3+2 program, or it ended up being a 4+1, where I spent 4 years at my undergraduate, got my bachelor's in organizational studies, and then I spent my last year, I was already taking classes at the grad school, got kind of 2 years worth of credit in 1 year, and then spent a year at the grad school and got my master's in information science. And then after that, the college actually hired me on. So I spent about 6 years there, and then I moved over to San Bernardino Community College District, working for Valley College and Crafton Hills College in their offices. And then about 11 years ago, heard about the opening up here, and I was already living up here in the high desert and applied for the district, and I've been here since 2012.
Okay, so we've seen like a rapid development of technology as of recently, especially with the big boom of AI and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
How do you see technology evolving in the future?
It never stops. And that's one of the things we're focusing on. It's one of the reasons we're walking through here today is we're looking at what needs to change. How do we develop digital learners? Because your parents, or your grandparents, they would get a job and they would work for that company their whole life. They would be there 30, 40 years and retire. You guys now are not going to do that. You're going to have 5 or 6 different jobs in your lifetime, and you're going to need to know how to continue to learn and adapt for those jobs. One of those things we're looking at, like you mentioned, is a lot of AI, because you're going to rely on those. I'm already seeing it. There's technologies we're looking at where instead of a help desk, they've got AI, and you just put in plain text and it spits out the code you need. So just being willing to learn and adapt and always learn is going to be the most crucial skill. And even me, there are things that like I thought, we're leading edge and I learned how to do it this way. And then 2 years later when we're ready to upgrade, it's completely different. And I can't just go, but I just learned how to do it that way. I want to keep doing it that way. It's learning how to do it all over again.
Yeah, so there's like a big divide between like older people and younger people on how they absorb technology. Do you think that's going to happen again with like us, with future technology?
Yes and no. There's always going to be that divide in learning how to relearn, but you guys are now kind of what they would refer to as digital natives. You've grown up on technology. So you understand technology. Now it might change. Instead of keyboards, it might go all to speech to text, and keyboards might go away. But a lot of the basics behind that. My dad, brilliant guy, but he was very technical. He could rebuild an engine blindfolded, but he finally had to get an iPhone a few years ago, and nobody wanted to teach him how to use it. It sat in the box for 6 months until I could come down and teach him. And it has taken time, but even he's picked it up. He loves the fact he knows how to send emojis now, and that he can respond with a thumbs up. And that would have been unthinkable 3 years ago.
Yeah. What are the kinds of things that you guys do with the DO?
It's a little of everything. So, one, we're supporting all the schools. So there's 26 school sites, 15 elementaries, 3 middle schools, the 3 comprehensive high schools, the 2 continuation schools, and then here at Shadow Ridge, the independent study and online learning. So a lot of it is, one, every school has their own identity, their own organizational structure, and trying not to force everybody into the same box and give them some autonomy, that's a big part of it. But we also can't do everything. There does have to be some standardization. You know, that's why you guys all use the same model Chromebook. We have the same access points, the same switches behind the scenes, because we also need to make sure there's a certain base level of support there. And then a lot of it is just responding to the day-to-day needs. And then you never know what's going to happen. You know, knock on wood, we just got over, you know, a couple days of rain. So I was waiting, with bated breath the last 2 days, because, the wind to knock out a power line or an internet line. That didn't happen this time around, so very happy about that. So a lot of it is just kind of waiting to see what the needs of the day might be. But then it's also doing what we're doing now. We're going and visiting school sites, looking at how technology's being used and trying to develop a framework that all the schools can use for what does a digital learner or a 21st century look like for all of Hesperia Unified.
Yeah. So right now, AI is kind of restricted with schooling and stuff. Do you think there's going to be an integration with AI in the use of schooling and stuff?
Absolutely. We are already pushing your teachers that they need to start looking at it. Because one, if you use it correctly, it's going to make your life easier. So we just started looking at a tool called Brisk, B-R-I-S-K. That's very cool. It's built for teachers and school districts where, you can find an article and have AI change the reading level. So I found this great reading level, but it was written for 12th graders and I teach 6th grade. You can have Brisk convert it down to that reading level. You can have it auto-create the quizzes. You can have it help build your lesson plan. So if I can make your teacher's life easier, AI can make your teacher's life easier, and save them an hour a day of prep, that's going to be, now they can do more prep or they can look for those deeper level things. The concern with students is always going to be, you guys are just going to use it to cheat. But you guys, cheating has always been around, and I'm not saying all students cheat, but whether you do a Google search and steal a little bit out of a document or you use it as a resource, it's no different. AI is just doing some of that for you. But what can we then use AI for so you can go deeper? So we're saying, hey, students should absolutely use AI. Use it to write your first draft, build that framework, and then that allows you guys, instead of spending 90% of your time on the front half, now you can spend 90% of your time on the back half and do those deeper dives and show that you've really grasped the knowledge and how it can, that you've really understood and absorbed the material. And it also just might change what those tests or quizzes or the work you submit at the end look like. I'm big on video. I think video is a great tool. Well, if AI can only do my writing for me, but then I've got to submit a video explaining or defending the writing I turned in, and if I just let AI do it all for me and I didn't learn it, I'm going to be able to figure that out very quickly.
Do you have anything to say for students or any questions for us that you have?
So what are your guys' biggest challenges as students? What's the thing you just slam your head into all the time?
English.
For me, it's reading assignments.
Yeah.
I'm more of a math type person. Yeah. So I struggle with reading assignments, and writing I'm decent at, but it's just mainly reading and absorbing information for my writing. That's probably what I struggle with the most.
Yeah. Basically the same thing, mostly writing.
So it's more subject related. It's not that the technology doesn't work.
Oh, no.
No, that's the tool for us. I think we all use it to help us.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, the computers definitely make it a lot easier than it would be without them.
And what makes Shadow Ridge so special for you guys? Because I like, we got to walk through and, we see a lot of small group work going on. We see some students online on Zoom. What do you guys like about Shadow Ridge and being here?
Yeah, I think the main component of Shadow Ridge that's superior, in my opinion, to other schools is the connection with your teachers. Just being able to go up to your teacher and ask them a question directly about, what should I do with this assignment or anything like that. I think that's the strongest point with Shadow Ridge, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the one-on-one time you get with your teachers.
I personally like how flexible it is. We all get our choice of our classes, independent. So we learn how to be on our own. So it kind of gives us that frame of being our own person. So when we get out of high school, we know how to be by ourselves and not reliant on other ones.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot better for people like me who it's really hard to learn in a normal setting.
Yeah.
Like in a normal classroom where you can't really ask as many questions and you have to work as they are going. But it's a lot easier because I can ask them questions as they're working with me.
Very cool. Would you guys like to take a couple minutes to chat with Tim, who's with me today from
course.
Yeah.
ALP?
Of course.
I'm going to hand it off to him.
All right.
What's up, friends?
Hello. Can you
Hi.
please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tim Towslee. I am a learner at large with Advanced Learning Partnerships, and I'm here working with Hesperia Unified, to talk with students and teachers so that we can help actually prepare you for the future, not the future that existed 20 years ago
Yeah.
or 30
Yeah.
years ago, or maybe even longer, because school changes in schools happen at a medicated snail's pace,
Yeah.
very, very slow. But obviously, change in society happens very, very rapidly. And I was overhearing what you guys were saying. We're talking about this, like how the traditional model of school doesn't work for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fact: the traditional model of school doesn't work for hardly anybody.
Right.
Because we're all wired differently. We all have our own interests. We all have our own opportunities, advantages, resources that are just different across the board. So we have to make do with what we have, and that requires a lot of creativity, and it requires critical thinking and communication, like what we're doing here, collaboration, like we're doing here.
Yeah.
But also citizenship and character, which those things to me are much more important than whatever score you get on a state test. Because in life there are very few questions that only have 4 possible answers and only one of them is right.
Yeah.
That's not how the world works at all. So
Yeah. As you've been going through the district and stuff, what's a couple things that you've seen that has really shaped how you see what affects the students the most, and how they could be helped or how they're held back or anything like that?
yeah, for sure. So I've been, I was a high school English teacher for 20 years, so I understand your frustrations with, the ways that you can encounter information through reading and how that can get very, very challenging. And I think that writing is one of the hardest things we learn to do in high school. So having a community that supports you, in your learning, when it's hard, when it's easy, when it's really messy, because we're people. People are messy beings, right? So learning shouldn't look too pretty. It should look messy, because that's how we are. So one of the things that I've really been impressed with in visiting, in Hesperia, especially here, and we were at Canyon Ridge before, and then we're headed to Mojave next. So with the alternative model of schools, the community is so much more important than I see in a lot of other schools. And I'm a big proponent of starting with community, building community first, putting our emphasis on community, and then the academics can come later, because the academics are changing all the time. So if we can rely on each other and support one another and help each other out, instead of looking at school as a place where we're competing with our peers, we're all working in this together and, for the betterment of the world around us.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were an English teacher for 20 years. How did you get into the technology field?
It's really interesting. So, I knew that you guys are going to be using tech in the future. So I've always been kind of an early adopter. The school district where I worked for most of my career, it was the first one-to-one laptop initiative school district in the country. So we got to work through a lot of just different, try different things, see what worked, fail a bunch of them, see what works better, and just really kind of have that kind of I'm open to anything. Because I don't know what you guys are going to be doing. You guys are going to be conveying information in very different ways. As an English teacher, I don't make a lot of friends with fellow English teachers when I say, we don't really need to teach the essay anymore, because it's different. We have so many different ways of communicating. Like this one, for instance, you guys do a lot of classes through Zoom and virtually, which I think is huge. Lots and lots of ways to communicate. So we need to know how to compose ideas and make arguments and support our arguments with evidence, not just vibes as it seems to be these days. But we need to have something concrete to support the things that we're saying. And that's real learning. Because I like to draw this distinction between education and learning. Education is a system. Systems fail people because they're mechanical.
Yeah.
Learning is a process that hopefully never stops. And you continue to do it. And the more things you learn, the more you realize, I got more to learn on this topic. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And the more you want to learn on that
Yeah,
topic
totally.
as well.
Totally. And to be fair, what doesn't kill you just gives you a better story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't always make you stronger. Sometimes it makes you weaker because it's nearly killed you, but it's given you a cooler story to tell.
Yeah.
Adds on to the lore.
Yeah. My children have a composition notebook full of dad lore.
Yep, dad lore.
Because they think I know everyone. And, I've got some pretty funny stories. I was once run over by a bus.
Oh.
Yeah, and walked out of the hospital 4 days later.
That sounds
So I am invincible. Yeah.
almost impossible.
Yeah, but almost impossible and improbable are two different things.
Oh yeah.
So,
Do you have any questions for us?
what are you guys looking forward to?
Well, for me, it's college, university.
Oh yeah,
That's
college,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting to learn how. So I'm gonna be doing welding or
Sweet.
aviation mechanics.
We were just talking about that.
So I'm
Welding.
really excited to start learning on either one of those subjects because I want to be like a really hands-on. I don't want to sit at a desk and just to be doing nothing all day.
Yeah, sure. Of course. I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm the opposite. I want to go into research for physics.
Okay.
So that's like pretty much the opposite of what I don't know, like hands on.
They're connected.
Yeah.
They're connected because you guys have different interests, different talents.
Yeah.
So, think about it this way. Let's say you're going to college in a couple of years. Well, a couple of years after that, you guys could get together. He's got the hands-on inventiveness. You could do the research that helps him build the better product that you can help market. And then, you can manage the whole thing and just make all of the money off of their labor.
That's why you guys are best friends. I'm telling
That's
you.
on God.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the most exciting thing I'm ready for.
Definitely.
Oh, I'm excited just to graduate and be
Yeah,
done.
sure. Sometimes showing up is the hardest part, and that's the best you can do. And graduating something like this, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like expected, but it's like such a relief when that comes along because then you have a door that opens up to the next big thing.
Yeah. Well, do you also have any advice for us, for anybody?
I don't know if I'm the right person to give advice. So I wholeheartedly endorse screwing up. Screw up as much as you can because failure is the most important part of learning. And I think that one of the things that public school tends to do is it discourages failure, whether it intentionally does it or not. But, a lot of schools, like young people work in competition with one another to see who can get the best GPA, to see who can be valedictorian. But the truth of the matter is we're all in this together. We have to know how to support one another and celebrate one another's successes, help each other out when we're failing, and really grow together. So I have a lot of hope for young people moving into the future because you're not so stuck in this rut of tradition. You guys have been bombarded with change. You guys have had like so many once in a lifetime moments just in a short period of your lives that a lot of older folks haven't had to adapt as quickly. So, they tend to hang out and like, oh, that's the way we've always done it. And it's like, no, that's not the way we do it moving forward because you guys want to be successful for the future. You don't want to be successful for the past. That's a fool's errand.
Yeah, to be successful is to change.
Yeah. And to be successful on your own terms. You need to define what success looks like.
Of course.
So one of the things that Mr. Tepner was talking about was going into school for engineering. I went to school for engineering. I got a full scholarship to study engineering. I realized within the first week and a half that it wasn't for me. I taught a lot of like people that I worked with how to solder things, how to do more of the hands-on stuff. But the theory, beyond me. My college calculus class for engineering was the only class I've ever gotten a D in, and I was in there for help every single day. It's just like I kept trying, but I was able to recognize like, okay, that's not one of my strengths. And that's the other thing is like don't be afraid to change and don't be afraid like to process new information when it comes in, because like I learned like later on in my life that I have dyscalculia, which means that like numbers are going to add up in different ways for me anytime I look at them. So I could count how many people are in this room and get a different number 3 times.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay, that's kind of how I'm wired. A lot of us are wired for just different things in life. And don't be discouraged if like you're not wired for this one particular thing, because you might have a buddy that knows how to do that. And then you could team together and then, change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Very cool. Thanks.
There's always something fun here at Shadow Ridge School.
Hi, it's Shadow Ridge School, the best indie in the HD.
is Aaliyah Fowler, and I'm from Shadow Ridge, the best indie school out here in Hesperia. You know what it is.
I go to Shadow Ridge School, the best indie in HD.